It was the way the hallway light hit her cheekbones that night, how she didn't even bother to glance at me while slipping her earrings on. That was the first strike that made my chest feel hollow. Amanda had this routine, lip gloss first, then her necklace, then the earrings, always in that order like clockwork. But that night she skipped the necklace. Her hands were shaking slightly as she clasped the left earring, and she paused halfway through to read a message on her phone. Her lips curling into a smile so subtle, I almost missed it. She didn't look at me once. Big plans, I asked, trying to sound casual, but my voice had that crack in it I hated. Like my body had already figured it out before my brain caught up. She didn't respond at first, just tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and picked up her clutch. Then, as she walked past me, she said those words, "Don't wait up." I didn't say anything. Not right away. Not because I was trying to be stoic or brave or anything noble like that. It was just, I couldn't find the air to speak. It was like someone had pressed pause on the whole room except her. She was still moving, heels clicking against the hardwood like gunshots in an empty hall. The scent of her perfume lingered long after the door slammed shut. And I stood there, completely still. Then I moved out that night. But that wasn't where it started. See, Amanda and we weren't always like this. We were high school sweethearts. I know, sounds cliché, but it was real. We did everything together. College, our first apartment, our first disaster of a vacation in a tent that collapsed during a thunderstorm. We fought, sure, but we always found our way back to each other. That's the thing about history. It blinds you. It makes you think longevity equals loyalty. That time invested equals time respected. But it doesn't. The first crack was subtle. She started working late. I'm talking really late. And Amanda's job wasn't exactly one where that made sense. She was a marketing coordinator for a local gym franchise. Her boss, Greg, was a tool all talk, no neck. She said they were working on a new campaign and had to coordinate with multiple locations. I believed her. Even when she stopped coming home for dinner. Even when she started showering the moment she got in. Even when she began sleeping with her phone under her pillow. It wasn't suspicion that led me to check the phone. It was desperation. 2 weeks before the Don't Wait Up night, I'd planned a surprise weekend trip to the mountains. Just the two of us. We hadn't done anything together in almost 5 months. When I told her, she didn't even pretend to be excited. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't think I can take that kind of break right now. Things are crazy." Things were always crazy. She started going out on girls' nights again. Except Tiffany, her best friend and supposed wingwoman, had moved to Arizona. I know because Tiffany had posted about it on Facebook. The first time I asked Amanda how that made sense, she said, "Oh, she's back visiting family." The second time I asked, she said, "You're being paranoid." The third time she didn't answer, just walked out. So I stopped asking. But I didn't stop noticing. That night, after she left with her heels and her perfume and that ghost smile meant for someone else, I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of bourbon, sat down at the table and stared at my hands. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt suspended, like I was watching my own life play out behind glass. The walls didn't feel like mine anymore. The pictures didn't look like us. Even the dog, Charlie, our Labrador, seemed to avoid looking me in the eyes. I got up, grabbed a duffel from the closet, packed in silence. I left the house key on the counter. But the story didn't end when I walked out the door. It was only just beginning. The strange thing about leaving is that you expect some kind of cinematic moment. Rain maybe, thunder. Your reflection in the rearview mirror as you drive away from the life you built with someone who slowly stopped seeing you. But there was none of that. Just dry summer heat, a street lamp buzzing above me like a warning I couldn't decipher, and the sound of my tires crunching gravel as I pulled out of the driveway. I didn't know where I was going. My brother Tyler lived across town. We hadn't been close for years, but I texted him anyway. "Can I crash at your place tonight? Need a favor." He replied within minutes. Doors open. He didn't ask questions when I got there. Just gave me a beer, patted my shoulder, and turned the game on. The kind of silent support only someone who's already been burned understands how to give. I didn't talk that night. I just sat there, numb, watching a team I didn't care about lose by a margin I didn't notice. It was the next morning when I saw it. Her iPad was still connected to my Apple ID. We'd synced our devices when we got new ones 2 years ago. I'd completely forgotten. It lit up while I was pouring coffee in Tyler's kitchen. New messages. My heart didn't leap, didn't drop. It just stopped. There were dozens. The contact name was B. At first, I told myself it could be anyone. Maybe her cousin Brandon. Maybe an old friend. Maybe work stuff. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. I tapped it. And there it was. Messages from last night. Sent minutes after she walked out of our house. Amanda, leaving now. Wearing that black dress you like. B. Wish I could rip it off you myself. Amanda, don't tease. Be there in 20. B. Room's ready. You better not be late. I sat down slowly, like my legs were too far away to respond to my brain. My hands were shaking, but not out of shock. It was rage, the kind that doesn't explode but builds like pressure in a sealed room. And it wasn't even the flirty messages that did it. It was the tone. So casual. So familiar. Like this had been going on for a long time. Like I was the side character in my own marriage. I scrolled further. Amanda, last night was insane. You're a machine. B. You make it easy. Amanda, Chris suspects something. I might need to cool it for a bit. B. Don't stress. He's soft. He'll forgive anything. That one hit different. He's soft. Not angry. Not sad. Not my husband. Just soft. Like I was weak for trusting her. For believing in the vows we made under a sunset in Malibu with all our friends and family clapping like fools. I closed the iPad and stared into my coffee like it could answer every question I didn't know how to ask. Who was B? How long had it been going on? How many times had she looked me in the eyes and lied? I didn't cry. Not then. I just stood up, grabbed my keys and drove. I didn't even know where, but I couldn't sit still. Not when everything I thought was solid had turned into quicksand beneath me. 3 miles from Tyler's place, I parked in front of a cheap hotel, one of those extended stay spots near the freeway. I walked in, asked for the manager, and showed him Amanda's name. Said I was trying to confirm a reservation for a surprise. The guy didn't even blink. Oh yeah, she's been here a few times. Always with that same tall guy with the beard. My throat went dry. What name is it under? He checked. Brandon Palmer. Brandon, I repeated. Of course. B. I stood there for a full minute before thanking the guy and walking out. Amanda had always hated liars. That was her thing. If you lie to me, it's over, she used to say. Ironic, really. Now she was the liar, the planner, the actress. And I was the fool who packed her lunch 3 days ago and told her I loved her while she kissed me on the cheek with someone else's name in her mouth. I sat in the car outside that cheap hotel for at least an hour, the sun beginning to climb above the roofline, turning the parking lot into a warped mirror of heat waves and oil stains. I didn't even turn the engine off. I just stared at the doors. Room 214. The manager had said that's where they usually stayed. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Maybe some Hollywood moment where they walked out laughing, hand in hand, and saw me sitting there, a ghost in the driver's seat. But they didn't. No one came out. I wasn't there for revenge. I wasn't even there to catch them. I just needed it to be real. Seeing the texts, reading the messages, that was one kind of betrayal. But being outside the place where she brought another man, repeatedly, made it physical. Made it ugly. It made it something I couldn't ignore, no matter how badly a part of me still wanted to find some way to believe it was all a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. Amanda was cheating, and she was good at it. Not sloppy. Not obvious. Not drunk at a bar with a stranger. No, this was a double life. She'd made appointments, created cover stories, sent photos to make it believable, made sure to never bring his scent back home. She had curated the entire lie with surgical precision. And I was the one who kissed her goodbye every morning, thinking she was late for a meeting, not late for another man's bed. I called her that afternoon. Just once. Just to hear her voice. She answered like nothing was wrong. Hey babe. At work. Can I call you later? You at work? I asked. Long pause. Yeah, why? I could hear the strain in her voice. A flicker of hesitation. She'd never been good at lying on the spot. You're sure? I said slowly. Chris, she snapped. What is this about? I'm seriously in the middle of something. Funny, I said, because I just spoke to the manager at the Howard Inn. He remembers you. You and Brandon Palmer. Room 214. Silence. Then the voice changed. Not cracking with guilt. Not gasping in fear. Cold. You really went there? She said, voice flat, no stutter. You seriously went behind my back like that? That's your move now? I could barely believe what I was hearing. Behind your back? Amanda, you've been lying to me for months. You've been cheating. Sneaking around. And you're mad that I finally found out? Don't flip this on me, she hissed. If you weren't so distant all the time, if you hadn't let everything between us get so boring, I wouldn't have had to find it somewhere else. And there it was. Not denial. Just blame. I didn't say anything. I just let the silence hang. Thick and hot and cruel. She broke it. I guess now we're doing this, she said, voice clipped. Fine. You want honesty? Yeah, I've been seeing him. For a while. And no, I don't regret it. Still I said nothing. I wanted to feel alive again, she continued. You haven't touched me in months. You don't see me anymore. You're like a shadow walking through the house. You don't even try, Chris. I should have yelled. I should have screamed back all the nights I made dinner and sat waiting. All the texts she never answered. All the cold shoulders, all the guilt trips. I should have said how hard I'd tried to fix something she'd already decided to burn down. But I just said one thing. We're done. I hung up. She didn't call back. Didn't text. No tears. No apology. No excuses. Amanda didn't even try to fight for what we had. She'd already replaced me. When I woke up the next morning in Tyler's guest room, it took me a full 30 seconds to remember why the air felt so heavy in my lungs. The bed was too small, the ceiling was unfamiliar, and for a second I thought maybe I had dreamed everything. The hotel, the texts, the cold voice on the phone. But then I looked at my phone. No messages. No missed calls. Not even a single "Where are you?" from Amanda. She'd erased me in real time. Tyler was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes like it was a Sunday tradition. I hadn't seen him do that since our mom was alive. I sat at the counter, and he didn't ask any questions until I finished eating. So, you leaving her? It was the first time I'd said it out loud. Yeah, I muttered. I am. He nodded once. You're doing the right thing. It was strange how final it felt. Like speaking the words out loud was a key turning in a lock. Like some invisible line had been crossed and I wasn't allowed to walk back over it. I went back to our house later that afternoon, half hoping she wouldn't be there. But her car was in the driveway. So was his. A red Ford F-150, parked like it belonged there. Like this was his home now. My hands started shaking. Not from fear. From restraint. I stood in front of that door for maybe a minute before unlocking it. Walked in. Quiet. Calm. The house smelled different. Like cologne I didn't recognize. And there they were. In the kitchen. Laughing. Amanda leaned against the counter like she was hosting a brunch. Hair up, barefoot, coffee mug in hand. She turned to look at me, and for the first time, she didn't even flinch. Chris, she said coolly. Didn't expect you back so soon. Brandon. I assumed it was him. Stood next to her, just watching. He didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just stared like he was waiting for me to make a move. I came to get some things, I said. My voice was ice. Clothes. Papers. My dog. She actually rolled her eyes. Chris, don't be dramatic. Where is Charlie? I asked, ignoring her tone. In the backyard, she said. He's fine. I didn't look at Brandon. Not once. I didn't give him the satisfaction. I went upstairs, packed what I could in silence. Every shirt and drawer feeling like a memory I didn't want anymore. She didn't follow me. She didn't say a word. The only sound was the buzz of my old electric toothbrush, which for some reason had been left running on the bathroom counter. When I came down with my bags, Amanda was sitting at the kitchen table now, sipping coffee like she was in a cafe. "You could have talked to me first," she said. I laughed, not out of humor, out of disbelief. "Talk to you? About what?" "How you've been sleeping with someone else in our bed." "Don't exaggerate," she said flatly. "Oh, right," I snapped. "You only use hotel rooms. Very respectful of you." Brandon shifted then, but still didn't say a word. "I didn't come here to fight," I said. "I came for what's mine. That includes Charlie." Amanda gave a lazy shrug. "He likes Brandon." That hit harder than it should have. Not because I believed it, but because she said it like it was funny, like it was some kind of game. I walked out to the yard, called for Charlie, and he came running like nothing had changed. His leash was still hanging by the back door. I clipped it on, loaded him into the car, and didn't look back. But as I pulled away from the house, I caught one last glimpse through the front window. She was laughing again, at something he said, and it wasn't the Amanda I married. It wasn't even someone I recognized. I didn't cry until I got to the gas station. It's a strange place for a breakdown, somewhere between the windshield washer fluid aisle and the microwave burritos, but that's where it happened. I was standing there with Charlie in the back seat, leash tied to the headrest, panting like he'd just run a marathon, and I just collapsed. Not physically, but inside. All the walls I'd kept up the last few days. The control, the restraint, the numbness. They all came down in one breath. Because it hit me then, it was really over. Not just the marriage, not just the home, but the illusion that Amanda ever cared enough not to destroy me. The realization that while I had spent months second-guessing myself, trying to fix things, apologizing for things I didn't even understand, she had already handed the key to our life to someone else. She didn't just betray me, she erased me. I sat in my car, head resting against the steering wheel, breathing like I'd just been gut-punched. People walked by. A woman refueled her sedan next to me and didn't even glance over. The world just kept moving like my heart wasn't in pieces in a dusty parking lot off Route 20. Charlie whimpered once. Just a little sound. A reminder that I wasn't completely alone. I pulled myself together, barely. Wiped my face with a receipt. Drove to a storage unit I rented that afternoon. The guy didn't even ask why I needed it so fast. Just handed me the keys and offered me a half-smile. I unloaded the bags. Dropped off everything that didn't feel like it belonged to me anymore. And then I sat down in that echoey concrete box and opened the manila folder that held our marriage certificate. Felt like a prop in a bad play. How do you go from standing in front of 100 people, promising forever, to being nothing more than a line item on a divorce petition? That night, Tyler and I sat on the porch. He brought out 2 beers and said nothing for a long time. Just sat there, staring out at the dark trees lining his backyard. "You still love her?" he asked finally. I didn't answer, because love wasn't even the right word anymore. It was something else. Something twisted and rusted and hollow. Like hearing a song that used to be your favorite and now just makes your stomach turn. "I loved the version of her that existed in my head," I said finally. "The one who smiled at me in grocery stores for no reason. The one who sent dumb memes when I had a bad day. The one who used to dance in the kitchen barefoot." He nodded. "That version's gone." "No," I said. "She never existed. I just thought she did." And that was the worst part. I wasn't grieving Amanda. I was grieving the lie I built around her. The next day, I made an appointment with a divorce attorney. The receptionist didn't flinch when I said, "Infidelity." She just nodded, handed me a clipboard, and pointed to a chair, like it was just another Tuesday. The lawyer's office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. Everything about it was beige, the walls, the furniture, even the lawyer's tie. His name was Dennis Klein, and he had that tired, grayish look of someone who'd seen too many stories like mine to react with anything more than a polite nod. "So, infidelity," he said, scanning the form I filled out. "How long has it been going on?" "Months," I replied. "Maybe longer. I only found out a few days ago." He scribbled something, didn't look up. "Proof. I have screenshots, messages, hotel receipts, even a name." "Perfect," he said, with all the enthusiasm of a DMV clerk. "This'll move fast." And just like that, the machine began to turn. Divorce proceedings, asset division, pet custody, the dismantling of a life I spent 6 years building. By noon, I'd signed the first round of papers. Dennis gave me a generic speech about timelines, mediators, and temporary arrangements. I nodded at all the right moments, but my mind wasn't there. It was still at that kitchen table, where Amanda had sat across from me with her mug of coffee and that hollow look in her eyes, like I was the inconvenience in her new script. I went back to Tyler's and found a note on the table. "Out with Claire. Call if you need anything. T." I took Charlie for a walk instead. It was a quiet trail by the river, one we hadn't been on since the early days. Amanda and I used to come here on Sundays back when things still felt real. I let him off the leash near the trees and sat down on a bench, just listening to the sound of water and distant traffic. And that's when my phone buzzed. Her name, Amanda. I stared at the screen for a long moment, let it buzz once, twice, 3 times. Then I answered. "What?" "Chris," she said. Her voice was softer now, almost fragile. "We need to talk." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "Now you want to talk? After everything?" "I'm not calling to fight," she said quickly. I don't know. I didn't expect you to actually leave." "You told me not to wait up," I said. "So I didn't." Silence. Then, "It wasn't supposed to get this far." "That's what you said about the affair?" She hesitated. "I'm not defending what I did." "Good, because there is no defense." I want to explain." "You already did," I said. "You said I was boring, that you didn't feel seen, that Brandon made you feel alive. I got the message." "It wasn't just about him," she said. "It was about everything. The routine, the silence, the way we stopped trying." I stood up from the bench, watched Charlie chasing something in the grass. "So you decided to burn it all down without telling me." "I didn't know how to fix it," she whispered. "You didn't want to fix it. You wanted out without guilt. So you made me the villain in your head. That way you could sleep at night." She didn't argue. I almost hung up. But then she said something I didn't expect. "I want to keep the house." I laughed again. Not bitter this time, just stunned. "You want the house? It's closer to work. Brandon might be moving in." And there it was. Brandon, moving in. To my house. Sleeping in my bed. Drinking coffee in my kitchen. "I'll let the lawyer know," I said, voice like stone. "Chris, I'm not trying to hurt you," she said. "You already did," I said. "Now you're just decorating the wound." I hung up, turned the phone off, whistled for Charlie, and we walked home in silence. I didn't go back to Tyler's right away. I drove. No destination, no purpose. Just the need to put miles between myself and the voice I couldn't get out of my head. Amanda saying, Brandon might be moving in, like it was a casual thing. Like this wasn't the same home where we picked out curtains together, argued over paint swatches, brought Charlie home for the first time. Now it was just a placeholder for someone else's life. I drove until the road flattened out into long stretches of highway, the kind where you can't tell where the sky ends and the pavement begins. And somewhere in that wide, open nothing, it hit me. She had already rewritten the story. In her version, I was the distant one, the disengaged husband, the man who didn't see her anymore. She would tell her friends that the marriage had been dead for years, that Brandon wasn't the cause, just the wake-up call. That's what cheaters do. They rewrite the past so they can live with themselves. But I remembered everything. I remembered leaving work early to make her birthday special. I remembered rubbing her back when she had migraines. I remembered holding her hand at her grandmother's funeral and not letting go until she did. I remembered all the versions of me she conveniently erased when she needed a reason to open her legs for someone else. I pulled over at a rest stop and sat on the curb with Charlie at my feet. I didn't cry this time. I just stared at the concrete, cracked and sun-bleached, and wondered how many people had sat in this exact spot wondering where everything went wrong. Later that night, I got a message from Tiffany, the real one, her old best friend. The one Amanda claimed to be out with during all those girls' nights. Tiffany, hey, I just heard. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I blinked. Me, heard what? Tiffany, about Amanda and Brandon. My cousin told me. He knows Brandon from work. I thought you two were still together. Me, we were, until I found out. Tiffany, she told everyone you two were taking a break, and that you were staying with family to figure things out. I stared at the message. A break. She was rewriting the ending even now, framing it so that when the divorce papers came through, it would all look like a mutual decision. Like we calmly decided to step away and reflect. Not like she tossed our marriage into a wood chipper and posed with the man holding the handle. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Later that night, Tyler grilled burgers in the backyard. Neither of us talked much, but at some point, he asked, "What are you going to do about the house?" "Let her rot in it," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "Seriously?" I shrugged. "She can keep the place. She'll fill it with lies anyway. Every corner of that house will whisper the truth when he's not around." Tyler looked at me for a long time. "You're not angry anymore, are you?" I thought about that. "No," I said finally. "I'm something worse." "What's worse than angry?" "Done." The next morning came with an unexpected chill. One of those mornings where the air feels too still, like something's waiting to happen. I checked my phone out of habit, even though I knew there'd be nothing from Amanda. She had stopped pretending. No breadcrumb texts, no regrets, no weak apologies. She'd made her move and had no intention of looking back. But there was a message. From a number I didn't recognize. "You don't know me. I'm Brandon's ex. Can we talk?" For a moment, I thought it was some kind of prank. But something about the timing, the phrasing, it hit different. I replied cautiously. "Me? Why?" "Unknown. Because you deserve to know who he really is." We met at a cafe on the other side of town. Her name was Rachel. Dark hair, sharp eyes, nervous fingers tapping against her coffee cup. She looked like someone who hadn't slept well in weeks, maybe months. "Thanks for coming," she said, sitting across from me like we were old friends in a war neither of us signed up for. "I'm not sure what you expect me to do," I said carefully. "I'm already divorcing her." "I know," she said. "I just thought you should know what she got herself into." Rachel told me things that made my blood run cold. Brandon wasn't just a guy with good timing. He was a pattern. He had a trail of women, overlapping relationships, each ending in some kind of chaos. Gaslighting, manipulation, quiet threats. He wasn't physically abusive, she made that clear, but he played people, twisted them, got inside their heads until they couldn't tell what was true anymore. I didn't believe it at first, she said. He was charming, funny, smart, but it always started the same way. Jokes about my ex, then subtle digs at my friends, then slowly pulling me away from everyone who cared. How long were you with him? I asked. 2 years. I got out when he started flirting with a friend of mine right in front of me. When I called him out, he told me I was insecure, that I needed help. I believed her, every word, because it sounded exactly like the way Amanda had been talking to me for the last few months. The rewritten history, the quiet blame, the way she had slowly convinced me that I was the problem. I just thought, maybe if you knew who he really was, Rachel said, you wouldn't waste any more time thinking it was your fault. I nodded, more grateful than I could show. It wasn't, and I meant it. That night, Amanda called. Again. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. She sounded off. Chris, she started. Not cold, not angry, just off. What? I said, tired. I think I made a mistake. I didn't respond. I mean, with everything. With him. Still, I said nothing. I thought it was what I wanted. I thought he was a better version of me? I cut in. She didn't answer that. I don't feel safe anymore. That made me sit up straight. What do you mean? He gets angry, she said. Not violent, just weird, controlling. He goes through my phone. He doesn't like when I go out alone. And there it was. The mask was slipping. Not just for her, but for Brandon too. He's not who I thought, she added quietly. And I don't think I know how to get out. I took a deep breath, and I said what I knew I had to. You made your choice, Amanda. Now you live in it. 2 days passed after that phone call. No new messages. No follow-ups. Just silence. But silence from Amanda wasn't peace. It was the eye of a storm. I knew her well enough to understand she didn't call me out of remorse. That wasn't her style. She called because something wasn't working in her new fantasy. And when things stopped working for Amanda, she started looking for exits. Even if she was the one who built the fire, she'd still act like someone else lit the match. So when I saw her name pop up again late Friday night, I didn't flinch. Amanda, are you somewhere safe? It was a strange message. Cryptic. Out of character. So I replied, me, why? Amanda, because Brandon's looking for you. That froze me. I stared at the screen for a full minute, reading the sentence over and over like maybe it would rearrange itself into something harmless. But it didn't. My hands clenched. Charlie stirred at my feet, sensing the shift in my energy. Me, what does he want? Amanda, he found out I told you things. About the affair. About him. He thinks you're trying to ruin him. I almost laughed. I hadn't said a word to anyone. I'd gone silent. I wasn't on a warpath. I wasn't posting revenge stories. I was just trying to survive. Me. Let him come. He won't find me. Amanda. Chris, he's not who you think. I didn't know. I thought I could handle it. I could feel it now, not fear but clarity. Brandon wasn't just a mistake. He was her punishment. The very chaos she chose over stability. Over loyalty. Over me. Me. You picked this. Live with it. I blocked her. For good. The next morning I filed a restraining order. Just in case. Tyler stood behind me at the courthouse like a sentry. He didn't say much, but his presence was solid. Real. The kind of loyalty Amanda never understood. When we walked back to the parking lot, my lawyer called. Dennis sounded tired. Her lawyer reached out. He said, Amanda's backing off the house. I blinked. What? She says she doesn't want to fight anymore. She's giving it up. Just wants it over. Couldn't believe it. Amanda surrendering ground? Giving something up without a tantrum? Why now? I asked. Honestly? She sounded scared. That told me everything. Amanda wasn't just unraveling. She was watching the tower she built start to crack, and the man she thought was her escape hatch was turning into a prison. But it wasn't my job to save her. I spent 6 years trying to hold her together. Now I had one job left. finish walking away. That evening, I stood in the driveway of my old house one last time. The porch light was off. The windows were dark. The place felt like a shell, hollow, emptied out of warmth. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. That chapter was finished. The locks would change next week. The papers would be filed. And the woman who once said she loved me more than anything would become a cautionary tale, not a memory worth mourning. I got back into my car. Charlie jumped up beside me, and we drove off into the last piece of night. The final court date came quicker than I expected. Divorce finalized. Assets divided. Signatures on paper that once would have broken me to imagine. But by the time I sat across from Amanda in that cold courtroom, I didn't feel broken. I felt weightless. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not in size, in presence. Her energy, once so commanding, was dimmed. No makeup. Hair pulled back. Nervous hands clutching a pen she never used. She didn't look at me once during the proceedings. Not even when the judge read her full name aloud. Amanda Lee Carlson. The same name I once imagined passing down to children we never had. Maybe she sensed it. The end. Not just of us, but of the world she'd carefully constructed to keep herself comfortable. The last words she ever said to me were outside that courtroom, under gray clouds and the faint drizzle of July rain. "I never wanted to hurt you." She said it like an apology, but I knew it wasn't one. It was a defense, a shield, a weak attempt to soften what she'd done, and I gave her none of it. "No," I said. "You just didn't care if you did." She flinched but didn't argue. For once, Amanda Carlson had nothing left to say. I walked away. It's been 3 weeks since then. The house is mine again, but I haven't gone back. I'm renting a small place near the lake. Nothing fancy, but peaceful, quiet. A space that holds no ghosts. I've repainted the walls, donated the things we once shared, and let Charlie claim the couch like it belongs to him. Some nights I sit on the porch and listen to the wind and think about everything that happened. I think about the man I was, the one who ignored red flags, who believed in potential over reality, who thought love could outwork betrayal. He's gone now, and what's left is something better, sharper, wiser, still scarred, but not broken. Amanda sent one more message last week. No words, just a photo of her and Brandon. Taken at some backyard barbecue, plastic cups in hand, fake smiles painted across their faces. Like she wanted me to see she was still winning. I deleted it without opening it fully, because what she doesn't know is that I've already won. Not by finding someone else. Not by posting cryptic quotes online. Not by pretending I didn't hurt, but by surviving her. By standing on the other side of everything she lit on fire and realizing I didn't need to be rescued. I needed to walk out of the flames myself. And I did. So if you're reading this, maybe you're where I was, questioning everything, blaming yourself, aching for answers. Let me say this. Sometimes the worst thing they ever do is the best thing that ever happens to you. Let them go. Let them rot. And rebuild. Brick by honest brick.